Right, guys, this is a nightmare. Another terrible defeat to Fenerbahce. Paul Scholes says he's depressed. Dave, what are we doing? How do we stop this? How do we fix it? Or am I being a little impatient?
Well, I think first of all, we need to go and give Paul Scholes a big hug. We need to talk to him. Paul, it's going to be okay. We've had the glory years, and now we're just going through a little bit of stabilisation. I think Mourinho is definitely the right man, but there's just some issues. You go to the game at the weekend against Burnley where United really dominated. They created so many chances. The football was really good. And then you go to Fenerbahce and they're so flat. They go a goal down or their heads drop, and it's a mentality thing, and it's the ability to flip the tempo and actually play progressive, fast football. And it's something that we used to do so much, and it was so easy, going side to side, moving defences, and now it's so basic and so boring sometimes. And I still do feel it's like a Louis van Gaal sort of hold on the club is still there, because you see some of the times, like Luke Shaw was getting the ball against Fenerbahce in very promising areas, and areas where he's got to attack, he's got to get his head down and get the cross into the box. He was coming back to the centre-backs. Things like that need to stop, and United just needs to be more direct and create more chances against some opposition, and it's that mental thing. I think it's just switching between playing Fenerbahce and playing Burnley and being on the same level and being like, we can beat these guys, and believing in yourself. I think it's a confidence thing.
Okay, I don't disagree about confidence, certainly. Terry, in 2016, should we be waiting and giving patience and time to managers and players, or do you think it's time to start axing people left, right and centre?
In terms of the manager, I've been quite vocal of support for Jose Mourinho and said that I, for one, with hindsight, I'm quite embarrassed of the way I treated David Moyes and Louis van Gaal so early on in their careers. We need to stand behind the manager. We need to be critical, and we need to talk about where we need to improve. That goes without saying, but we need to have them, swapping the manager at this point at Christmas. I've heard people talking about him getting sacked by Christmas if this carries on. That is so. That will hold us back for years. You can't keep having a new manager, new systems, new players, new tactics every year to 2 years and think you're going to get success when Manchester United is built from the inside out to have one guy running everything from top to bottom. We just can't keep recycling managers, so we need to put faith in them. Some of the players, though, I think Dave's right. It's up and down. Great against Burnley, but don't score. Woeful last night. You never know how it's going to be, and that's because we have too many players that, in my opinion, are inconsistent and a mediocre in their approach. The likes of Herrera, Schneiderlin, Martial has been this season as well. Too many players are up, then they're down. And it's very hard for the manager to get continuity and get a team playing well when you don't know how those players are going to, what sort of head they're going to have on their shoulders for each game. And
I think you've been a little bit harsh. I'm going to interrupt you. I don't usually do that. But I think you've been a little bit harsh on Ander Herrera, only because in a team that looks mentally fragile, he's somebody that turns up and fights every single week. Even if his performance might not be the same level as the week before, he doesn't go hiding in games.
He doesn't go hiding in games, and I wouldn't ever challenge him on that. My issue with Ander Herrera probably isn't Ander Herrera himself. It's the fact that he gets lauded up as being this top midfielder. And somebody tweeted me last night in my supposed abuse of him and said, "I'm not saying he's world class, but but he isn't rubbish either." And I was like, "No, exactly. He's a good player. Good players come with inconsistencies." And he runs around like crazy. But you know what? For years, Michael Carrick was overlooked in the England setup for players like Scott Parker and Gareth Barry that run around a bit, stuck their foot in a little bit. But technically, they weren't as good on the ball. And Ander Herrera, for me, is the tallest dwarf in the team. He's playing very well in a team that's not doing particularly good. That shouldn't be seen as our benchmark. I think that's very mediocrity thinking from Manchester United fans. But maybe that's what's happened to us over the last 3 years with the way the club has gone.
All right, Dale, weigh in here.
Yeah, I think you look at the last 3 years, a lot of these players have bended throughout that period. I think it's getting to the stage now where some people are saying change the manager, which is bizarre, really. I think we should look at that, change some of the players. A lot of those players there are not Manchester United players. Mourinho has a team there that is not a Mourinho team yet. It's going to take time for him to build those foundations. That's not going to happen in one transfer window. It might not even happen fully in 2 transfer or 3 transfer windows. It's going to take time. And we need to stand by here and say, look, we've got past 2 managers already. When's enough? We can't keep going through this merry-go-round and expect miracles in a season or 2, because it's not going to happen that way. I know a lot of people aren't in favour of Mourinho, never have been. That's fine, but look, United come first there. We can't be a circus. We were blessed for so many years in the Ferguson. It was stable. He went through team after team, but they were Ferguson teams. If you get Ferguson a different club, all of a sudden he'd have to shape that into his own. Same way Mourinho has to do it now. It took Ferguson years to that United. this is nothing different now at the moment. The likes of Andy Herrera, I agree. He's not a world-class player. He's a good player. But I think what I do like about him, there's fight in him. It's like a dog with fight in him. There's a lot of players there at the moment I don't think really care. We've seen after the game against Chelsea, people laughing, smiling, hugging Chelsea players. To me, to be honest, there's fans there paying good money to go to games. And that's a slap in the face. You want to see players there that come off the pitch pissed off. They just got hammered, annihilated. As Scholes said, he was depressed last night. And he's a United man. Too many of the players there get their wages every week and they don't really care.
Well, hopefully they'll be moved on. Let's talk about the teams that were playing at the weekend. It's Swansea. Dave, what would be your starting lineup?
Well, I think, one of the big things is Paul Pogba, whether he's fit or not, whether he has a dead leg. Of course, Paul Pogba is in my team when he's there. I think his performance in the last few weeks has been really good. And United really lacked him in that second half. The midfield was so flat. Ander Herrera, for all of his good work, was so isolated. Wayne Rooney, Juan Mata, just gave him the whole pitch to cover in a defensive sense. And United were poor on the ball because there were no options there. But anyway, going to my team, David De Gea in goal. And then potentially Darmian at right back again. He's been so woeful going forward. And it's something that top teams in European football these days have wing backs or have full backs that can attack. Darmian can't do that. So potentially, not potentially, United need to sign the right back in January, whoever it is, because at the moment, with Valencia out with a broken arm, there has to be someone else in there. But I'm going to go Darmian at right back, then Blind and Rojo, again, 2 left backs playing at centre back just because we don't have anyone else. Shaw at left back, again, I already mentioned how he needs to go forward a bit more, needs to be more confident. I thought that Luke Shaw, before his injury, before his leg break, was getting to a level that was really dangerous. And go to the leg break, what he was doing was in the penalty area after a lovely 30-yard run. And that's the Luke Shaw we need again, not this sort of cautious Luke Shaw that plays too many backwards passes. Into midfield, I'm going to go Carrick, Pogba, Juan Mata, or Carrick, Pogba, Lingard. I think with United, Rooney isn't a central midfielder, Mata isn't really a central midfielder. So I feel you've got to have a bit of legs next to Michael Carrick, and that's what Lingard's going to do in terms of his chance creation, his ability to carry the ball. If you go back to last season against Liverpool in the Europa League, Lingard was actually quite good, played a little bit deeper in central midfield, so I want him to do there, work hard. And then the front three, Mick Tyrion has to play. I tweeted after the game, his stats were reasonably good. I liked his touch. He gave the ball away in two times. But he's not a central midfielder, and that's not the passes that, he's going to be playing backwards passes all the time. He's a progressive footballer, and play him outright. He's going to create things, and this United team isn't creating enough right now. With Rashford on one of the wings, he doesn't give enough in terms of a winger. He's a striker, and he can't be pushed out there. It's just not good for his career, and it's not good for him. Anyway, we're going to go for Ibrahimovic in the middle, and then Anthony Martial, who was good in spells against Fenerbahce out left.
Okay. What would you do, Tel?
Not too dissimilar in terms of the team. De Gea in goal, we all know that. Luke Shaw, left back. Darmian, he has to play right back because there isn't anybody else, but that's an area of mediocrity that needs improving. Blind at the back, and I'm not sure if Chris Smalling is back fit or not. If he is, then it would be Smalling. If not, then Rojo. I think obviously Carrick is going to play, has to play. We look a 10 times better side with him in the team. That balance that he brings is so important. I would then go for a bit of energy around him. He's not really working with anybody else, and I would give Fosu Mensah an opportunity in central midfield to really get at the Swansea players, press hard. He can get up and down. He's young. He's going to be full of energy, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Pogba being fit, playing slightly more advanced, not quite a number 10 role, but slightly more advanced in the central midfield 3. My attacking 3 as well. My front 3 would be exactly the same with Dave's. Martial on the left, who I just think needs games. We know he's a top-class player. He hasn't got found form this season, but I think the only thing that will do that is regular football. Mkhitaryan, we haven't seen anything of him yet, and the cliche is there with this, that it will feel like a new signing once he clicks, because we're in November and we've barely seen him play. And Zlatan up front, I never thought I'd be saying this back in the summer, but him and, maybe it's just every striker Man United have touched in the last 3 years maybe we've got that guy I know it's just maybe it isn't Rooney, maybe it wasn't Falcao, maybe it's just playing up front for Man United because Ibra's gone
Marcus
backwards
Rashford.
As well.
Boom.
Well, yeah, maybe, but the experienced ones anyway have definitely gone backwards. But I would stick with Ibra up front for this game against Swansea.
Okay, fair enough. Dale, what are you doing?
Hey, in goal. Darmian obviously which is already touched on, isn't the greatest going forward. But just remember his first few weeks at the club before that game against Arsenal when Sanchez ripped him a new one. He was one of the best right backs in the country. He was superb. But what's ever happened since, I just don't know. Confidence or whatever. Then you've Blind and Rojo. It's just not a Manchester United centre back partnership. It's just that's the pressing alone. Luke Shaw at left back hasn't obviously been a bit caught, as previously mentioned, after the leg break. But that's just something to do with mental strength and whatever, because you look at the likes of Aaron Ramsey, had a similar bad leg break, and it took him a year or two to become that quality midfielder again, which, to be honest, that's just the way it is when you have a serious leg break like that. Obviously it's going to play in the back of your mind. Midfield, if he's fit, Paul Pogba, and then alongside him has to be Michael Carrick. I'm sick of saying this. Carrick has to start. We're talking about needing leaders here, and he's the only one that springs to me that is an 8 out of 10 performer week in, week out. He has to be in teams, a focal part of the team. In both those two, Mata on the right, because just sheer creativity. When he's in the team, he play better. Rashford through the centre to add that pace, and I think his link-up play with Zlatan, and when he does play that role, is quite good, and I want to see more of that. Martial tells us needs game time. He's a class player. To get back to those heights of last season, he just needs to be playing more games. And up top, I'm willing to give Zlatan another chance. If he is the reason that we're not winning games, another 0-0 draw, because of his sheer disappointment in front of goal, we need to start looking at different options and maybe give Rashford a run up front.
Okay, thanks guys. Let's quickly have a look at our FanDuel team of the week. So this is our FanDuel team of the week. Obviously, we've picked a load of United players again, but shock, we're going with Rashford at the top and not Zlatan, because he hasn't scored for a while, which typically means he'll certainly score this week. So we're doing United a favour, but probably going to suffer ourselves. We've also got Curtis Davis and George Friend. George Friend's going to have a great performance, getting a solid 0-0. He's going to make some tackles against City. That's why we always pick Curtis Davis, because tackles mean points in the FanDuel League. If you want to get involved, it's easy. You can win up to $5,000. It only costs £5 to play, and if you use the promo code DEVILS, then you get your money back. And if you don't finish in the paying places, you get your money back, which is great. It means you don't lose. So get involved. You have to be over 18 in the UK to play. Easy peasy. Right, so let's move on. In our previous 3 Europa League games, our following results have been a draw and 2 loss. Dave, is that because the players are tired, or is there something else at play?
I think it's one of those weird things where Thursday night football, then weekend football does cause teams problems. We saw at Tottenham last season, they had an absolute awful record. But the thing with United is 2 of the games after the Thursday night have been at 12 o'clock. And that's something that the Premier League needs to look at, because that's absolutely atrocious. You go to Italy, teams that play on Thursday night now play on Monday night. It's one of those things where, we are, because of the TV money, and we're so constrained by that, is that these games have to be played at certain times. But at 12 o'clock after a Thursday night game is ridiculous. Luckily, this game at the weekend is at 3 o'clock, but then saying that, our last game at 3 o'clock, we lost 4-0 to Chelsea. So it's massively a factor. But these are professional footballers. They get paid to do this, so they've just got to turn up, and they've got to not make an excuse. They've got to assert themselves early. I think that's another thing that against Fenerbahce United didn't do, was assert themselves properly on that game and put themselves about, and that has to happen against Swansea to break them down. Okay, fair enough.
Tell.
I think if you tell yourself that you're tired, you feel tired. You never hear Champions League teams complaining if they play on a Wednesday and then again on the Saturday. That's the same difference as playing Thursday and Sunday, unless my maths is wrong. I've heard this argument from all clubs for years, and it's complete tosh, to be honest with you. I think that the players, they should be fit enough. They've got the best sports science in the world around them. They can eat well. They can go to bed when they want in the evenings. They can get recovered and recuperated. So just, pull your head out your arse. No excuses. Don't plant the seed, and let's make sure we beat Swansea without no excuses of tired legs.
There you go. Dale, pull your head out your arse. Is that the option?
Yeah, you can do that if you have here. But the last, say, 5 years, I think, in Europe, especially away, since Ferguson was there, it's just been rubbish. I think United in Europe. We can't get a win away from home. I think the last manager to win away from home was David Moyes, and that says a whole lot. But yeah, I totally agree with Tel in terms of excuses. It's turn up a lot. You're professional athletes at the highest of levels, the best sports science in the world. It's a few days break. You're playing Swansea. You're not playing Barcelona. There'd be no excuse when you're a Manchester United player at this level. We have to go and get a win at the weekend. This is before international break. We have to go into that international break with a win. The last 2 international breaks, We came back and got a hammering off City. I think we came back from the other one and played Liverpool. Could be wrong on that one, but we haven't had it easy in that respect. But we need some positivity. There's no consistency in this group, and if we go into another international break with a defeat or with points dropped, it just adds more to this circus around the Mourinho and the pressure getting on his back. He doesn't look happy, and we need to start winning games. And there'll be no excuse whatsoever this weekend against Swansea. Swansea are no great shake. New manager, it shouldn't be a problem, but knowing United, we always make a big deal of it.
Okay, Dale just touched on it there, Dave. How do we beat Swansea?
Well, I think Swansea, again, they are in terrible form. They've not won a game since the opening day of the season, so they're 9 without a win. Players that potentially could cause United a bit of problem. Gylfi Sigurdsson, we all know his quality in the Premier League, having been at Reading, Tottenham, and then back at Swansea, and then back at Swansea. He's been looking good this season. He's created the most chances for Swansea, 2 assists. Leroy Fer as well, hit a bit of goal-scoring form at the start of the season, but he's not scored in 3. So quite frankly, it's Bob Bradley's, it's his first few games, so he's trying to get his authority on this team, but Swansea aren't much, and United need to win this game. Can't be another Stoke, and it can't be another Burnley. Okay,
Tel, any concerns about Swansea?
Well, they've got Llorente, who a few years ago in the Europa League absolutely destroyed Manchester United, but no, I mean, they're second bottom in the league. However, you sit back, no win in 9, as Dave said, but that's actually made to beat Manchester United. Like, for me, the way we've been the last 3 years, I sit here and I don't feel any confidence going into this game, which is a depressing factor. I'm sorry, Paul Scholes, if that makes you feel down again, if you are watching, indeed, sir. But we have to. It's a simple must win. If we don't win this game, that's when the trolls are going to come out. That's when the people are going to really start going for Jose Mourinho's neck, and that's going to do no good for him, the club, the players, and our season.
Okay, fair enough. Right then, let's round this up with some predictions. Dale, what do you think the score will be?
2-0 United. You just mentioned that Leroy Fer, quality player, who stands out like a big tom in this Swansea team. If we can keep him quiet and not give away any stupid free kicks around the box for Sigurdsson to take advantage of, I'm hoping for a clean sheet. 2-0.
Okay. Dave?
I'm going to go 4-0. I think this United team's going to finally kick into gear. We've all got to hope and we've all got to pray.
It's bold. Tel?
Well, I'm going to be positive. Swansea are going to score first, right? There is a positive.
Positive. Nice.
Positive. Yeah. That will be. But I think United will come good. I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory before the international break to up the spirits of everybody, especially the travelling away United fans that always do such a fantastic job.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to be more realistic and go 1-0 based on the fact that we've struggled to score quite a lot lately, let alone win. Cool, guys, thank you very much. Everybody else, let us know what you thought about all of that. Get it in the comments below. Subscribe to Full Time Devils. Enjoy the match.